Live here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. As you can all see, it's a beautiful misty morning here, and we're all looking forward to an exciting morning exploring this wonderful piece of wilderness in South Africa. We are situated very close to the hyena den site, and we just thought we would start the show here to show you the beautiful sunrise and the mist that we do have in the lower-lying areas. Oh, look at this, right in front of us. Well, this is good prospects for us, because I'm fairly certain the two hyena that just walked in front of us are on their way back to the hyena den site. Now, I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be best for us to get into position at the hyena den and wait for them to arrive, because when they do arrive, if there are any hyena there, we can expect an elaborate greeting, and that will be great to see. This morning, Andrew's on camera, and Nikki and Tara are in the final control. Steph and Mark have headed out in the other vehicle to help us look for animals. And Brent's having the morning off. He's been on drive consistently for quite a few days now, and it's time for him to recharge the batteries. The hyena are on their way in. I have seen them to our left coming towards the den site, which is just in front of us. And like I say, we can expect to see an elaborate greeting when they do get here. The tricky thing is to determine where the best place is going to be to wait for this greeting that is about to happen. But I'm going to take our chances on this side of the termite mound that they use as their den. And the reason for that is that we often see a lot of activity from this little point. So I'm hoping the same thing happens in just a few moments. One hyena has just arrived. It is going to pop out. There it is. And it's looking off into the distance where I did see another hyena just move off to, so let's wait and see what happens here. Now it's hard to tell whether this is a male or a female and exactly which hyena this is, as they all do look very similar. But I'm guessing that this could be a male, judging from the very horizontal belly. Oh, here comes another hyena. Let's see what happens here. There we go. That's the greeting we were hoping for. The individual was acting submissively, the one that was standing still, and listen carefully now, they're getting excited. We may even get some audio if we're lucky from them. You'll notice how its tail's curled up. They do this when they are greeting one another and when they get excited, because they've got scent glands on their anus which they will wipe on blades of grass, and by presenting its tail up like that, it's making it easier for the other hyena to pick up on the different scents, which can tell a huge story to them. Sadly, we don't understand, and our sense of smell isn't good enough to process this information, but to them, they can read into to one another's scents in a very in-depth detail. Just going to try and reposition ever so slightly, as my pre-planned spot has not been as good as I hoped it would be. Now, if we're lucky, there are 3 little cubs that live within this termite mound, and you'll notice as Andrew pans across that there are a few burrows that lead into this den. Now let's watch closely. I'm hoping some of the inquisitive little cubs are going to pop their heads out and come and play for us. They'll naturally be a little bit cautious of any other animals coming up to the den sites, and it's safest for them to be hidden within the network of tunnels underground. When there is any excitement with the adults. As you can see, it's sniffing around very intently. Wouldn't it be nice to know exactly what it is that it is smelling and what it can process from these smells? They're all moving around in all the spots where we can't see them. So again, I'm just going to try and reposition ever so slightly. What I have noticed with this den site in the past is that occasionally hyena that are obviously related to this clan in some way will sometimes come past and then continue off to wherever they will be planning on spending their day. And it looks like that may be happening this morning. There was 1 adult here when we arrived and another 2 adults that we saw just after we went live that joined the den site. Now all 3 of them have headed off into this thick bush to our left. But I think it's worth hanging around because they are moving quite a lot and they could well come back to the den. And I've just seen one turn around now and it's heading back towards us, so let's get ready to see what happens here. Now these are the same 2 that arrived together, I think. Like I was saying though, it's hard to tell exactly which members are the close-knit members of this clan, and there's a fair amount of unknown between us as to exactly who's who. We can establish who the mothers are, but even then it can be difficult to distinguish the 2. And I'm sure a lot of the viewers are actually better at identifying these hyena than we are because of all the screenshots that you managed to capture. So if you do have any thoughts as to who's who, please let us know. All your help is hugely appreciated. While we're waiting for the hyena to come back, I've just noticed a golden orb spider in front of us, and it's collected a fair amount of dew over the course of the evening, and the misty weather that we had earlier this morning and last night would have definitely contributed to this dew that we can see on its web. Interestingly enough, some of the golden orb spiders are beginning to not maintain their webs very well, but this individual certainly has got a well-formed web. And you will notice that the spider is sitting in the middle with its stomach facing towards us and its back facing away from us. And you also notice a line of debris kind of through the center of the web. That's all the old exoskeletons of carcasses that it's fed on. How they do feed on their prey once they've caught them is that they will simply suck out the hemolymph or bodily fluids from their prey. They won't be able to necessarily chew through parts of the prey. They rather just suck all the insides out. So those are all the exoskeletons of little insects and bugs that have been caught. Well, I think our timing was just about spot on. Oh, it looks like one hyena is returning, because I thought they'd all moved off, and there's no set roster with their plans. They do come and go to the den site at various stages. There are obviously peaks in the early morning and late afternoon when we can expect to see them here, but it's not guaranteed. So I think we've got off to a great start with the sighting we've had of them this morning. Andrew, if you can try and get the one on the right show. Sorry, buddy. Oh. They are doing their anal pasting, where they leave scent from the scent gland. And what they'll do is they'll walk over a blade of grass or a twig and rub this gland on it. And I think we may see this one do it again. Let's watch closely. This one has a very distinctive notch in its ear, which I have not noticed in the past on any of the hyena here, but again, that could just be me. But it does have a very distinctive notch on the upper edge of its left ear, so that's a good diagnostic feature that we can look for in the future. And you'll also notice that I said they could be males because their stomachs are quite horizontal. Now, basically, the females will often have a more prominent vertical ridge on their belly as it gets close to their hindquarters, whereas the males will typically have a flatter stomach as it gets towards those hindquarters. But basically, it's difficult to establish the difference between male and female hyena. They both have appendages which appear to be very similar to one another, the males and the females. So looking between their legs is not a sure way of telling whether they are male or female. It's great that they're active this morning, but it's making Andrew's job a little bit difficult on the camera because they are moving through some quite thick bush. I'm just going to turn around again. I foresee that they are going to come back and do another lap sniffing around the den. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, welcome and good to have you with us. It's important to realize that this is a live safari. It's happening this very second, and it's also an interactive safari. So if you'd like to ask questions at any given stage, please do so. And to do it, you would hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. So get your questions through, and Nikki and Tara and the Final Control will do their best to get those through to us.